Call our meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Jefferson?
Here.
Mr. Akery?
Here.
Mr. Stefano?
Here.
Ms. Roundtree? Here. Chairman Rosen?
Here. Okay.
Lake County School Board's in session. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Collett?
Here.
Mr. Cunningham?
Here.
Mrs. Perkins? Here. Mr. Wilson?
Here.
And Mr. Moore?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Robertson, would you open us up in an invocational prayer and pledge allegiance?
Sure. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and for this opportunity to gather. We thank you for those who are gathered in this room, those who lead our community. And we ask now for your wisdom, for your guidance, for even your presence in this place, that as our boards deliberate, as we as staff provide information, that it might be helpful not just to the boards, but to the citizens of our community. We ask now that you would continue to guide us, protect us, bless those who are in law enforcement, those who educate our students throughout this community. Bless us all that we might be a blessing to those around us. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you would go ahead and take your knives, your spears, and your guns and hand them to the clerk.
None of that. None of that.
So can I get an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Okay. And we'll just do that. Do we need to do it by each board? So I think we could just move forward on that then. Okay. Really glad to have the school board with us tonight and other guests. And hopefully we can have good, open conversation, discussion. And since you guys are presenting to us tonight, I'll let you take the lead, Jason, and we'll follow up with discussion and answers after that.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. Can we get a motion to approve the school board's agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda for open session as presented.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Collett?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mrs. Perkins? Yes. Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passed. Thanks again, Mr. Rosie. It's good to be here tonight. I don't have a whole lot of opening comments. We're going to kick the floor over to Dr. Kramer for the most part. But I will kind of set the stage. I think, pretty confident you guys have all the information. We've shared it out. We did adopt our budget. We started working on this January sometime. We've been working on this for quite some time. We've gotten to the point where we've adopted a budget it's very similar, if not identical, to what we did last year. We broke it down into an operational budget and a capital request. And both of those lists have been itemized and prioritized by the school board. And so that's what we'll be presenting tonight. Just like last year, we got a big ask, and I know that you guys have competing asks throughout the county. So we're here tonight to entertain any questions you have, to explain how we came to the conclusions we did. And at the same time, we acknowledge the fact that you folks have the heavy lift of determining how much of a check that can be stroked. So I think I speak for the entire school board that we appreciate that, and that is a tall order that I'm glad I don't have, quite frankly. So anyone else have comments, and then we'll kick it over to Dr. Kramer? You got it, sir.
Thank you, Chair Marsh. Thank you, Chair Rosie, and the Board of Supervisors, and thank you for the opportunity to the school board members and to the Board of Supervisors. So we are going to provide, I will provide on behalf of our staff a very high-level overview. I will not endeavor to share the entirety of the presentation that was made to the school board. If anyone would like to see that, they can certainly visit the February 24th school board meeting, and you can see that in its entirety. But I will provide an overview of the major requests from the school division. Before doing that, I would like to note, everyone in this room is aware of this, but for the listening public, per the Code of Virginia, Section 22.1-92 states that it shall be the duty of each division superintendent to prepare with the approval of the school board and submit to the governing body or bodies appropriate funds for the school division. The estimate of the amount of money deemed to be needed during the next fiscal year for the school, for the support of the public schools of the school division. Therefore, funds are only made available once the Board of Supervisors approves the operating budget and appropriates the funds. So with that, as Chair March shared, the superintendent's proposed budget work session occurred on February 24th. There was an additional work session following the superintendent's proposed budget. The board approved the budget on March 18th, and I did skip over, there was public hearing on March 6th. Would like to revisit last year. A special thank you to both the school board and the Board of Supervisors for generously approving some very needed CIP, capital improvement plan request. The Carsville HVAC for I think it ended up being 7.4 million. Tracks for both high schools, weapons detection systems at both high schools, athletic fields for both high schools, and school buses. I think there were 5 that were voted on. The next slide gives you a percent of the appropriation as a percent of the county's general fund, and you will see where we were prior to the COVID pandemic, where we were during the pandemic, and where we are currently. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Doc. If you could go back, so ladies and gentlemen, that slide there is, when I look at that, that's not intended to be a shot at the county by any shape or form. What that tells me is that during FY '22 and '23, schools across the Commonwealth and the nation were provided all sorts of federal funds in the name of COVID. And rightly so, contributions fluctuated based off the federal funds that we got. I mean, I heard it thrown around, we've all heard it was free money for COVID. I don't think there's any such a thing. But the fact of the matter is, we got significant federal money during that time period. That's gone. That federal funding has dried up. And so that's kind of where we're at today. And so if you take anything from this slide, please take that away, that the federal funding from ESSER funds, COVID money, it's gone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And now to share the request. So there will be changes in revenue, and unfortunately, we will be losing some revenue based upon building rents being less, state revenue going down as a result of basic aid and impact aid. So we are projecting to lose approximately $673,000 of revenue for next year. Some of the required changes, again, I will not go into depth with each one of these, and you are free to ask us any questions as we will discuss in further depth. 3% raise, the healthcare fund increase, and as you will see, I think that's $2.4 million alone of that $2.48 million. Discretionary changes in expenses, some of the new positions totaling $1.4 million. Highlighted some of these, a step increase for our employees, some of the technology equipment needs, after-school programs. We do not have after-school program opportunities for all of our schools. This funding will enable us to ensure that all students have access to after-school programs. New positions request in instruction. A few that I've highlighted here, with the expansion of our CTE programs, career technical education, an IA welding position, CTE director. I think you're well aware we received $2.7 million through the governor's lab school initiative. That's going to be fully implemented next year with the expansion of that initiative, as well as our other career technology education programs. We know that we will need a position to work with Camp Community College, Old Dominion University, which is the fiscal agent, and the shipyard. A registered behavior technician as well. New positions in operations and HR. You, the board, approved 2 years ago. The Board of Supervisors funded three SSO positions, 2 at Smithfield High School, 1 at Windsor High School. We're asking for 2 additional, 1 for each high school as we implement weapons detection systems this winter and, well, I guess winter and spring for both high schools now. HR coordinator, we are understaffed. I think the recommendation is to have 1 HR staff member for every 100 employees, and that would mean we should have somewhere in the neighborhood of 8. I think we have 3.5 positions, so this would just help increase and improve the efficiency in human resources. Some of the other requests, these are requests for changes in pay. So these positions are already established, and you see here, $1 additional per hour for SPED inclusion IAs, SPED self-contained, $2, just to keep us somewhat competitive with our neighboring jurisdictions. Nurses and clinic assistants, and there you see the number of positions as well as the total cost. Request for changes in supplements and stipends. The total increase would be $6.6 million. And you see required changes and discretionary. I do note, though it states discretionary, these are positions we deem to be very important and requests that we deem to be very important. Mentioned the CIP early on. You see the CIP request for this current year, and you see the ranking system from school board members and a summary of those requests. Bus garage, additional school buses for this year, band room, weapons detection systems for our middle schools, and ADA bleachers for Smithfield High School. And a summary of the major requests. Again, the 3% raise, healthcare fund, encompassing the vast majority of that request. Facilities enhancements, needs for special education, CTE, and again, after-school programs. And with that, Chair Rosie, Chair Marsh, I will turn it back over to you. Staff and I are prepared to address any questions you may have.
If you will, before you move, would you move back to the CIP, 2 slides back from the end? Wanted to look at that. We have the buses, the bus garage pricing, and so on.
And Chair Rosie, if I may, this, go ahead, please.
I think everybody has a printout of that as well, sir.
Yes. And what we did, Chair Rosie, Chair Marsh,
I didn't get a print of any of that.
we'll get we have some additional copies here. So anyone who didn't get one.
Yeah, but John has shared it to me, so.
So what we did, the requests that were not funded in fiscal '25, we've added those requests into the request of fiscal '26. And I think the only additional may have been, I'm not sure if the band room was on fiscal '25. So I think that's the only additional request to the CIP request. Any other slides you'd like us to revisit? Board members, Chair Marsh, Chair Rosie?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Board members, at your pleasure.
See lots of comments. I appreciate the ongoing diligence to survey your school board members and to rank order the CIP requests. If we could just start there, you know, if you consider the 3 major parts of any budget, the capital, operations, and FTE. I'd like to talk about capital first,
Looks like
if
a
no
good
one
place
else
to
has any
start.
objections, and then probably move to FTE and then finish with operations, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so appreciate all the background, and I know the rank ordering of your priorities for CIP. I just started last year, so that's the first time I remember it, but you can tell me if you did that before. But I appreciate the diligence in doing that, and then carrying some of those requests forward to this year and just kind of revisiting those as priorities. So if we could just take those, I don't know what the total amount is gonna be that's available for CIP without the county having to go out and get bonds, and borrow lots of money, et cetera. I think there's a chunk of money, because all of us were fiscally responsible last year, that's left over from the 24-25 budget. I think that's about $4 million. I know that we did receive $3.5 million from the Sycamore Cross Solar project. So, that's kind of our top line of what we have to work with for capital. Now, that's for everything, right? All departments come and ask for requests for capital. And there may be some wiggle room in that, but if you're saying for the entire county, we know we have $7.5 million, we'll just call it that, from either, again, reserves or new projects. If we could just talk about these, one-on-one, and again, appreciate the rank order of the 1 through 5, and we could just talk about some more detail with those, so we can consider those and how they rank order with other departmental needs, that would be great.
Okay, I think the top one is
Bus garage.
the bus garage, for sure. The school board prioritized I'll back up. So transportation presented 3 options. I think we all heard the 3 options. It was late last year, if I recall. The school board voted to go with the middle option, which was estimated at $7.5 million. That's a lot. I think everybody acknowledges that that's a lot, but we also acknowledge that it's a need. Dr. Coleman, as I understand it, and he can speak to this better than I can, he's been working with some architectures to look at some alternative options, perhaps something that we could phase in or start and build off of as years follow. You want to speak to that, sir? Yes.
Good evening. Just speaking directly to the transportation building, I just want to start off by saying I think everyone has been out there. Everyone has had an opportunity to go out to the transportation department and to see what's going on. I think that's why it came to light, why we need to actually move forward with this project. With that stated, it has been on the CIP several different years, but it was pushed down, and it was pushed down for very good reasons. Funds had to go elsewhere across the division. It's gotten to a point now that I believe that we really do need to take a look at it, and that's why we did start working with the architects to move forward. As Chairman Marsh stated, we started off with 3 different options. One was a 7.5 model, the other one was a $4 million model, and the last one was a $775,000 model. The $775,000 model was going to be a renovation of the current site. It was going to go into the building that we had and renovate the current site. Wasn't going to add too much to the exterior at this time. We have the 72 passenger buses that the rear end actually sticks out of the bay, but it was going to try to do something of that nature just to get by once again. The board and the school board, the board of supervisors and the school board at that time said, no, if we're going to put money into it, let's go a little step further. And that's when we went after the $10.3 million building. That was going to be a joint facility where Alawite County and Alawite County Schools maintain a current facility to operate all of our vehicles. At that time, we kind of went away from that idea, and that's when we ended up with the $7.5 million building. This building was an entity that had 8 bays and had administrative shops and storage shops. And this building was built, this was going to be a 30 to 40 year extent in this building. And that's why we kind of designed it the way we did with RRMM Architects. At that time, we were looking at something more feasible for the county during this budget session. So what we looked at was maybe a $4 million and the ability to add on every single year. So that's what we're looking at with the $4 million model. Now, when you start looking at it, and of course I'm going to call Mr. Fike and Mr. Sullivan up here for more detailed questions, but when we're looking at the site that we have, which is the annex right across the street from here, a lot of the funds that will be allocated will go directly into the infrastructure of the site. So we have 2 options that we're looking at right now. Option 1, both include the same thing: demo of the site, pavement, storm pipes, a BMP pond, and the utilities. That's not even getting into the building. That is the infrastructure of moving forward. The first option is going to be $1.1 million. So if we did acquire the $4 million, just understand that the 1.1 million of that is going to be desired infrastructure, and I can actually send this out. I just received all this information this morning.
Can you, for the listening audience, so I was struck back when you first told me about the BMP thing.
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Right. Stormwater management, stormwater management. Every site requires a stormwater management control to come out, and they actually survey the area, and they're kind of report back based off of the statistics of how much water can this particular area hold. And we're being told at this time, just from a forecast, we're going to have to build a BMP pond over at the annex, and this BMP pond by itself will be $400,000. One reason why we were looking at getting paving at New Hardy for the other site. I think Mr. Roundtree had brought up a point of Blunt's Corner Road and the amount of traffic that was building off of it. So we looked at the backside of Blunt's Corner Road in order to put a new parking lot in the back of that, just to pull some of the traffic off the road. And if I were to try to pave anything in that area, I would have had to build a close to $250,000 BMP pond. So the paving would have cost me $50,000, but the BMP pond would have cost $250,000. So that's why it was. That's why we went away from that particular idea.
So currently, we don't have a BMP pond at the facility right now.
At the facility over here, no. At the annex transportation, we don't. Now, I don't know about on the other side of the fence. I do not know about the animal control side. If it's a BMP pond, okay, I'm being told, no, there's not a BMP pond over there at this time.
And that's just laws that have changed, I mean, things have gotten.
Say it's estimated runoff.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on your estimated runoff of the project.
In your BMP and your paving for parking, all that's related as they're calculating surface water runoff. Are you using permeable or non-permeable pavers or anything to help with your surface water runoff, which may reduce the size of the BMP if it's correctly architecturally developed?
That's something that we're looking into. Now, unpermeable sources have changed also. We're looking at some of the grid holding. We can lay the grid down and fill them back in. Now that's going to be counted as a permeable source. So I have to count that in just like I would count pavement. The same thing, believe it or not, the same thing with crush and run. For a long time, individuals can get by with crush and run. Not anymore. Same thing with milling. If you go over 2,400 square feet with the milling process, it now turns into a permanent situation. So we have explored a lot of different options, trying to make sure that it works. Okay. Besides the ground, and that's it, then yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Thanks, Doc. I think that's an important part of it.
I couldn't hear you.
I just said that's an important part of it. That's
Yeah,
a
it
lot
is.
of money.
In terms of the $4 million project, how many bays are you looking at, and how many mechanics will you have, or will you have to hire additional mechanics with
All
them?
right, now that's what I'm gonna call Mr. Fike and Mr. Sullivan. I have Mr. Sullivan here, who's the director.
Division Fleet Supervisor. Good evening.
And Mr. Fike, the coordinator. There we go. Right here.
Good evening. So the $4 million design, so that would only achieve 3 heavy-duty working stalls. That means we would have to retain the old building until the rest of the building was finished. We would have to stay in the building from 1955 until we receive the funds to continue building that structure. It would also limit a few other options that we would have on that building. Some of the important ones are oil management. Our oil management system, we'd have to cut that off of the building. And then the lifts, it's probably going to limit the amount of money that we're going to have to upfit the building. Lifts, the new tire machines, all that. That's something that's going to have to wait.
You don't have tire machines now?
We do, but we've been holding off to replace those machines. We've actually been fixing them for the last couple of years, trying to keep them together. But those machines are outdated. They're coming apart. They need to get replaced. And some of them, I'm sure you know, some of them are close to $16,000 to $21,000. They're a lot of money.
Yeah, this touches an area I'm very familiar with, being fleet
yeah.
director for Heron Ag and Severn Peanut Company. So I'm very familiar with some of
And
that.
you need the big machines.
We do, and we service more machines than you're serving right now or will be in this plan, and we don't have, in fact, in talking with my main mechanic and manager down in Severin, I mean, we're putting thousands more miles on our vehicles and stuff. We're servicing front-end loaders, we're servicing forklifts. We have 500 trailers that we service at this facility, as well as at least 20 tractor-trailer rigs, and then we have additional ones that are coming on from the ag side. So very familiar with what's going on, and we only have 3 bays. When I talked to my mechanic and manager, we said, well, how do you feel about adding on and getting more bays? He says, I can do it with what I've got. And he's got 3 mechanics, a couple other helpers, but he has 3 mechanics. And he says, I would rather be able to pay my mechanics and keep the mechanics, because there's a lot of turnover, there's a lot of money out there for those mechanics these days, rather than add on to the building, because I don't need more building space. I just need quality mechanics.
Yes, sir.
So I'm
Something that's important for us, and it's unusual, especially in our side of the industry, is the amount of times our vehicles actually have to come in to the shop per year. So a school bus, for instance, it's going to come into the shop 8 times a year just for services. And then on average, I believe it's 2.8 for general repairs. So that vehicle's coming in there 11 times a year versus, you know, some of a shop like a light pickup truck can squeeze by once or twice a year, and that's fine. I believe we do 684 roughly inspections per year. So that's a lot. Even though it's a very small fleet, it's still a whole lot of services. Another important thing is the speed that we have to conduct services. We don't have a lot of extra buses, so it's kind of like Daytona every day. When they come in, we've got 4 hours to get that bus fixed and right back out on the road because it has a job to do that day.
I understand that, and Jason did a good job of sending me some of that information. I mean, we have another additional 20 to 30 pickup trucks as well. But I just really want to be realistic, and we're looking at, we also have just recently replaced 5 buses, correct?
That's
and we
correct.
have on the CIP to continue to do that for the next 4 years, which means in 4 years, your oldest buses can be how old? 4 years old.
Pretty old.
Well, I mean, you should be really running, most of those are going to the wayside, so your need for repair and replace should drop down as well as we continue to nurture and develop your fleet. Right.
We do have a large class of buses that are really, really old, to be honest. We're still running 2004, 2005, 2007 school buses. And really, we talked about this a little while back, it's almost like natural selection. Like they retire themselves, basically. And 3 buses have retired themselves in the last 13, 14 months or so. So as those new ones come in, ideally you retire and you replace your oldest buses, but we presented to the school board the replacement rotation plan, and mark my words, in the year 2028, we will still be running probably 2009 buses. That's if we continue to get 5 every year. We're that far behind, basically.
I won't tell you how old some of our tractor trailer rates are.
Have you been able to even receive the buses that we appropriated money for last year? Have you even gotten those in yet?
So the wait time we order school buses is usually 12 to 18 months, but we do hopefully expect them this spring. They don't give us a concrete date, but
The money
certainly.
we spent in 25, 26, those, they're not even here yet.
Well, we spent the money for fiscal year 25, so they ordered July 1.
So as soon as
essentially.
we order them, it goes into a 12-month to 18-month hold. So yes, as you're stating, we're about to get those buses in, and that's why we were in such a hurry to start this whole process of moving forward. But I did want to make sure that we point out that even if we did get 5 buses a year for the next 4 years, that still wouldn't put us where we need to be. I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Understand.
Yes, okay.
It'll be another 13 years until we're really
Yeah,
back
it's
in a good
replacement of
rotation.
A third of your fleet. if
Right,
not
yeah.
6
It'll
years
take quite a
old.
while.
Yeah.
When the buses come into the garage, are you all doing inspections or are you doing major repairs?
A lot of times it's both, sir. So we start off, it's on a 45-day schedule from the BDOE. We start off with its inspection. It also receives what we refer to as a number 1 preventative maintenance inspection, where we go a little bit farther, slack adjusters, anything that needs to be adjusted, checked, camera systems. So we do that as well, and then we determine what general repairs need to be made. And if it's something like brakes, tires, and electrical diagnostic, usually we can take care of most of that stuff, but every once in a while we'll end up with something big, a rear end, and that's really what costs us a lot of time, or even an engine.
You have the privilege of not what the typical truck driver has to deal with. This is an aside question, I guess, in a sense, but who pre-trips, post-trips the buses?
That's a great question. So the drivers have a process. It's handed down through VDOE, and they document it. So the drivers do that on their own twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon.
Okay, is that that's like preventative medicine, and it keeps your repairs and replace down?
Yeah, that's correct.
significantly.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of times it can be like a headlight out or a clearance light or something out like that, and certainly they get that to the shop. We take it off the road immediately. So a lot of little small repairs. But your guys are great
Right.
about coming.
And that is
doing it.
DOT, so that would be the
Right.
same in the truck industry and the
Yeah.
buses. It's all
The buses, y'all use the 72 passenger buses as the
77.
77? What sizes do they come in, generally speaking, that you would use in this area in a rural area setting?
So I mean, they do
Obviously
offer different
77.
wheelbase lengths. So it's possible to get like 65 passenger buses, 72 passenger buses do exist. Right now, just the way our county's set up, the ground we cover, we're trying to buy 77 passenger buses. Really get the most bang for our buck with that.
And all the conventional C-type buses, none of them will actually fit at this point.
Yeah, I've been out there. So, anybody, I've heard parents talking about it all the time, I know y'all do. You see the lines of cars dropping their kids off. What type of population, or what's the percentage on routes as far as the capacity on the buses? Because when I was a kid, one bus, it ran for a long time, but it was slam full, but parents didn't take you and drop you off, pick you up at school either. Do we have an average on bus routes, the capacity, or is it
Yeah,
three-quarters, or do we, y'all even know that?
Sure, we run pretty close to full capacity. So 77 passenger buses refers to our elementary students. You can fit 3 to a seat. The back seat is smaller. I think you can maybe fit 2 elementary age students there if you do the math. Some of them run 70 plus, no joke. Like some of the big areas up here, Wellington Estates, Ben's Grant, those buses are loaded up. Now down here on the Windsor end, so the school board, we look at like how long the route takes, how long does it take the kid to get home and stuff. So those buses tend to run a little bit more empty. Same with some of the buses that come out here to the foot of Ivor and Rushmere and whatnot. But yeah, we load them in, we really do. And not even to get into the whole driver vacancy type thing, but we have people that leave us or they go on FMLA or something like that. Those kids got to ride somewhere. So we separate them up and we divvy it out, and then you can imagine what that does to the bus capacity.
Regarding the bus garage, does the schools have a business case for it? Like, for example, if I was thinking about this from a business standpoint, I was going to make an investment, I might look at a new facility and then measure, okay, what new capability does it bring, and then be able to measure that. What is the throughput improvement based on it? Because I'm assuming that a new facility would have quicker throughput. So some things that would be, measurable, and probably other things that would be non-measurable, like worker satisfaction, morale, et cetera. But like view those attributes against the initial investment that was required to make it and compare it and say, okay, this makes sense from a return of investment type standpoint. Does that exist?
So I haven't created anything for the non-integrated garage. I have created business plans for county integration. As far as that particular research, I haven't gone as far as to do that for just us building our own shop. Just because, there's not a lot of investment there. There's not a lot of turnaround. It's not going to make anybody any money. It's kind of like building a school. It's a long-term investment to the students, right? So that's something we could probably put together, certainly. But at this time, I only have it for integration with the county.
But I did want to pinpoint the intangibles, as you stated, about the morale for the actual individuals that work there. I think that once again, everyone has actually went out to the shop. In 7-degree weather, there's no way to close those bay doors while working on a bus. You have seen the condition of the shop itself. So those individuals that are working down there and have been working down there for years, I believe that we do owe them at least an opportunity to look at moving forward to give them a better working condition.
Yeah, having toured the shop, I definitely recognize what you're saying based on the shop's conditions. And actually, should be a factor that's considered as part of it. But I would be interested in understanding too, like what is the really improvement capability, capacity, and throughput, et cetera, that would be part of this as well.
Yes, and we'll go right here.
I was going to mention safety. I think you talk about.
Yes, sir. I was actually just about to lead there. So one of the biggest key points, I would say, so the safety for the individual. So we currently don't have vehicle lifts. We have bumper jacks and we have jacks. And just having the capabilities to pick a vehicle up for inspection, when it comes to long-term use of a technician in the field, being able to raise a vehicle and not going down on the ground 20 or 30 times a day, that employee is going to work for you a lot longer, and they're going to have a lot less injuries.
How many lifts do you plan to put in?
We'd love to have 3. And they would be roll-arounds, they wouldn't be in-ground.
Right.
I've always preferred the Conies. I think it's a lot more flexible as far as options. And if we had the Coney wheel-around lifts, if the county's ever had a tandem utility truck and they needed a tire change, we'd be able to support that too.
We do that and find it far more effective. I assume you're not putting any pits in. I'd highly recommend against that.
Me too.
It's surprising, somebody gets really busy, or these days they're on their cell phone, they turn around, they step down into the hole.
Yeah.
And so we've moved completely away from that.
Yes, sir. They've ended a lot of good careers.
I do appreciate the fact that you've moved away from the 7.7 million down to a more approachable number and a reasonable amount of bays. I think that would be more than sufficient. I don't know about your plan for adding on to this, but I think it's going to be a very sufficient facility with what you're doing.
The $4 million request is for 3 bays, including all the concrete, BMP and all that, is that right?
That would be 3 bays. However, one day we're going to have to come back and we're going to want to finish that building for sure.
All right. You know, all this is about compromise.
That's right.
Multi-year plan.
Yeah. And you'll probably hear it throughout our meeting tonight and stuff, and not just you, but all of our departments. There's a huge level of uncertainty with what's going on with the federal government. And there's some ways where I would prefer to be more prudent and put more money into a reserve fund until we know what's going to go on. So that will be affecting, I'm sure, our budget this year, if that's what is the pleasure of the rest of the board members. I'm not trying to put words in their mouth. But those are the kind of things that we're all very much aware of and facing, and we don't have to get into all the politics of that, but it's very real, and we need to be careful. We don't know what's going to happen as it migrates down and state funding really raises its head and shows us what they're going to do.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, that was an action item, right? The business case is going to be something that y'all share.
We certainly can. We can come up with something.
Okay.
How many
And you-
mechanics do you have working?
We currently have 5, sir. I'm the 6th. They don't let me work much, but when I do, I feel like I do a pretty good job. But we have 5 mechanics. Yes, sir.
Well, our manager, he works right alongside the bit.
That's the way to do it.
So, any other questions from our board members?
So just to be clear, the $775,000 renovation, which you're not recommending, you're recommending the $4 million flavor that allows the needed improvements, but what is the $775,000?
Once again, it was truly superficial. It was just a renovation of that building, just trying to get better working conditions in itself. It did not improve any of the I guess you said the physical statistics that were needed to be improved based off of what needs to occur with the buses. None of the space allotted and anything of that nature would have actually played itself out in that. So it would literally just be ensuring that the safety is picked up a little bit, maybe getting the jacks, if the jacks could fit in that particular area, just turning one of the car wash, or which is a bus wash, turning that into an actual bay. It was the renovation of that sort of items there.
I'm looking at a document I had from you, I think back in the fall, and back then it was $750,000, and included, I'm looking at it sideways, sorry, but convert wash bay into work stall, remove building,
That's kind of a new one to me.
13100 demo, relocation of waste oil collection, all that stuff. So it
Absolutely.
was $750, and now you say that's $775.
Yeah, and it's gonna, all of the RRMM schematics, it's gonna keep escalating.
But that's
I'd like to know.
what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
What's next?
Well, I'm not chairing this meeting, but I wouldn't, I don't have any other questions about the other top 4 ranked items to include school buses, which I feel like we made a pretty strong commitment to replacing part of the fleet every year.
So
Weapons detection, band room, and the ADA bleachers. I don't have any further questions about those, but other people might.
could we talk about the school buses? So the school board, it came up in one of our meetings. Did we have a gentle board agreement about an ongoing 5 bus purchase every year? Is that how we left?
We had a discussion.
That's what I intended.
So would the boards be willing to entertain some sort of an MOU so that we can plan on that?
In some kind of way.
MOU.
I think a capital improvement plan would be more appropriate than an MOU, because a plan is just that. You can't commit something all the way out when you don't know what the certainty is in the future. I mean, we just talked about the economy and other variables. I mean, we talk about capital improvement, and of course, we have the capital improvement plan, and this should be the gentleman's agreement, because this board may not exist in just a couple of years. So it won't be worth anything, even what it was in writing, because the board can change it anytime they want to. So I think a capital improvement plan that addresses the buses would be very appropriate.
Yeah,
So that our whoever comes in our place later or y'all's places later understands the plan.
I guess that was the concern, is when well, right now, we've got a good working relationship, but who knows 3, 4, 5 years down the road.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, certainly at a county level, I'm sure you guys do the same thing. CIP goes out multiple years, I think what Joel is saying. So certainly our sentiment is placed in that long-range CIP. And, you know, that means it can change, right? You're never certain of it until the money's actually appropriated every year, but certainly that was my understanding.
And Marsh, I appreciate you sending me the memo from last year showing kind of like the long-term projection of the rotation plan. I think that helped paint the picture of what the plan was.
Yeah, when we hit this pretty hard last year. I think we had lots of discussion on school buses in general.
we did.
so.
Okay. Other items on the CIP?
The one thing that wasn't on last year's list was the band room. If anyone has questions about that, I'm sure we could talk about that a bit.
I do. Could you please explain a little bit of the band room?
Coleman, sir. Before he starts talking, I got to give this man credit. So he often thinks out of the box, and he doesn't give himself much credit for doing it. So this band room has been an ongoing issue that's been identified well before, since I was on the board. I'm sure Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Collett know better than I. So I'll let him tell you what he came up with. It's something he kind of dreamed up and put together.
All right, so the current band room is 1,997 square feet. And as Chairman Marsh mentioned, there were several conversations concerning the band room, extra space, needing bigger area, different things of that nature. But more than that, what we try to do is make sure that we look at the overall picture. After we deal with West Side, and we know that it is a upcoming conversation, the next oldest building that we have is going to be Smithville High School. That is something that we're going to have to look at. Now, I'm not jumping too far ahead, but what I do want to do is start getting you prepared for Smithville High School is not going anywhere. Smithville High School will be here for quite some time. With that stated, there needs to be renovations done on current areas of that school to just upgrade the school to the pragmatic rollout that we are going to need. There are several dead spaces in Smithville High School or in any site. And those dead spaces are the areas that we need to look at for renovation purposes to expand space and expand room for our growing programs and different things of that nature. Now, one room that we had on the back side of the building, which was approximately 2,437 square feet, was the old boiler room. The old boiler room was on the back side of the school. 4 years ago, we went away from using the boiler because we went to HVAC units, rooftop units. So there was no need for the boiler room, or there was no need for the boiler anymore. So we're looking at expanding Smithville High School for storage, just a storage facility, because Smithville High School growing needs extra storage, different things of that nature. So in the process of clearing that room out and ensuring that there is space for storage and space for growth, we started looking at an overall, once again, approach of how to utilize the space at Smithville High School more effectively. And with that stated, that's when the thought of going into that room for the band room started. And with that, started working with, once again, the architect to start designing out what did it look like, how did it look, and just the preliminary steps from that. So after researching and getting all the numbers together, to renovate that band space will be it's 1.39, but $1.4 million. With that stated, that will open up the space that the current band room has for different options. And those options have not been identified, at this time, and meaning when I say at this time, like right now, that's something that the instructional department is gonna have to work through with the high school, with the principal, and with all of the other individuals to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. So with that stated, that is the purpose of opening up the band room, ending that conversation that we've had for the last 3 or 4 years, and giving Smithville High School back more space in order for them to have either electives or anything of that nature that they choose to have.
What was the square footage of the room?
The square footage of the band room is, the current band room is 1997, almost 2,000 square feet.
The upgraded area?
The new one is going to be 2,437 square feet. The biggest portion of that room is how it's divided up. Right now, the current band room has the closet space on both sides, if you've been in there, and an office on the back side. The way that the room is cut up and designed actually makes more of a smaller area for playing and different things of that nature. The boiler room can be designed much bigger and wider. If we were to go inside the current band room and try to expand, I believe that, of course, you can do anything with money, but the cost of that will not be as cost effective as just moving back to the boiler room. Another issue that a couple of our board members pointed out was the doors on the front and how it rolled out to the front of the school. Anyone who's played in the band, who's been a part of the band, they know that the boiler room on the back side has that exit that can get straight to the fields and different things of that nature, and it's a back exit instead of on the front side of the school right there. So it was a couple of different safety issues that went into that decision also.
Maybe I missed it, but the space in the front where you relocate to the boiler room,
Yes.
could that be transferred into instructional space?
It 100% can be transferred into instructional space. And that's some things that, of course, Ms. Gatz can go into in very much detail once she gets some time to actually look at it and find out whether this project even going to go through before she starts really concentrating on the what-ifs. But at the same time, yes. Not to even sidetrack, but just like a lot of the space at the central office when we move technology out of the high school, that will be divided back up and moved into instructional space. So it's a lot of different moving parts, but understanding that Smithville High School will be there, and we need to start ensuring that we're moving forward with the renovation of those areas.
If you have more instructional space at the high school, I mean, I know this is a bit off topic, but it's my understanding that the high school occupies space in the middle school.
It does.
So if you have more instructional space in the high school, then does that relieve or alleviate some of the issues with middle school space?
I'm going to have to let Ms. Getz talk a little bit more about the capacity in the middle school and high school. How many classrooms does the high school occupy?
About 19 classrooms in the middle school.
But I think to your larger point, Ms. Roundtree, it's going to give us options to expand other programs, other initiatives. Ms. Guess and I just met with a group of students today from all of our secondary schools. So looking at opportunities as our county continues to grow, it gives us options in the future. So Dr. Coleman alluded to the IT department moving to the new central office building. It's going to give Smithville High School those additional spaces. And with the band room moving to the new space, if funded, opens up opportunities for chorus, for some of the students were asking for the expansion of art programs, et cetera. So it will give us opportunities to expand on that campus.
And is that a capital request that we can expect to see, the transition of some of those larger, the IT space or the band room?
No.
How will you transition that instructional? You'll just kind of do it on a...
Right. It's some of the areas.
Answer your question, yes. I'm sorry, go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off. She said shoestring, that's how, we try to be
Okay.
fiscally responsible
Right.
and use our current vendor, ABM, and we've done quite a bit of work, and I think,
Right.
not to digress, but Dr. Coleman was able to work with ABM to do a large portion of the work to get us into the new central office. So instead of contracting that or spending additional dollars, yes, we will do as much work in-house as we can.
Said I didn't have any more questions about the capital budget, but I found my papers from the county budget contraction, if you will, for capital projects. And we had slot up for 25, 26 originally, and it didn't make your list. but we had slotted originally $180,000 for restroom repairs and renovations, so.
Right.
Somehow we had a feeling or indication that that was something that was needed, but it didn't make your list, so I wanted to just ask that.
And one reason why it didn't make the list overall is because of, once again, to allude to what Dr. Kramer just stated, it's the personnel that we have now with ABM. With ABM, I have a certified plumber, I have a certified electrician, and a certified carpenter. If I have all three of those individuals, I'm already paying for those services, so it's all about actually scheduling them out to really work through a lot of those issues. Now, of course, we'll be ordering partitions and maybe new toilets and things of that nature as we work through this process, but the labor cost of those certified employees, that is the large cost, getting those vendors in that has certifications in electrical, plumbing, and carpentry. So that has really absorbed the cost of overall the restrooms in the 180.
Okay. Any other discussions on the CIP? Okay, in terms of the general fund, you want to move there, or what's your?
I wanted to go to FTEs next, if that's okay. Just consider FTE budget.
Sure.
No objections
Do you
here.
have any specific questions for us, Ms. Roundtree, or any other members?
Well, I think the number was 14. I don't know, maybe we can bring back up your slide that speaks to FTEs. There were quite a number of new positions requested.
And Ms. Sullivan and Ms. Getz, why don't you make your way up here, since we'll probably be calling on you. Trying to find out where we were. Oh, I'm going the wrong way here.
Right there. Yep.
New positions, okay. Sure, specific questions for us regarding any of these
I guess I
positions?
thought it was 14, but is the new position request 12? Oh, another page.
Yes.
So 15. So there's you broke it into instructional and then.
Yes,
ops and HR.
that's
Great.
correct.
If we could just talk about those a little
Okay.
bit.
Do you have specific, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Do you have specific questions?
I'd just like you to start at the top.
Okay. So we'll tag team a little bit. The two reading interventionists, we currently have these positions in our budget, but they are in our Title I budget, so that's our federal dollars. We have been cut in the Title I, this was before, but it's, it's not as a direct result. But we are not going to be able to carry those positions in the Title I budget. So these people already exist, they are working as reading interventionists. And what we would like to do is just move them to our operating budget. The impact is they work with approximately 50 students each per day. In our elementary schools, these are kids who are below the benchmark in reading. And so we would like those 100 students to continue getting those reading services. Questions?
So you get the money from a federal grant currently,
Yes.
and you want to move it to the operating budget. So it's not really a new position, but yet you have it listed as a new position.
It's not really a new position, but it would be new for our operating budget because they're covered under Title I.
She said there was a deduction of the Title I funding, and what's that result from? You said it was before the
Yes.
latest and
Yes.
federal stuff.
So whenever there's a new census, the Title I funds are readjusted. So ours have been readjusted. We receive less money.
And that's based on what, student population?
They don't really tell us the formula.
Generally speaking, what is it, what are some of the elements of it?
I don't know.
Where do we find the formula?
It would be coming from VDOE or the federal government. They give us an allocation. They do not tell us a detailed explanation of how.
Doesn't a lot of it has to do with median household income and things like that?
Some of it is that, but it's also, they say it's based largely on the census information. Yes.
Did our census decrease?
Our median household income is well above the state and national levels, so.
So if you're a Title I school, to become a Title I school, you're going to be below that, so.
Right.
We have how many Title I schools today?
We have, it's Windsor Elementary, Carsville, and Hardy.
So those 3 schools specifically get extra funding via Title I.
Yes. Only those schools. The money can only be used for students in those schools.
Some communities are Title I, the whole school system's a Title I system, correct, I think?
It's the schools are designated as Title I. We cannot use the money for any other schools other than those 3 that are designated as Title I.
It may so happen that a entire school division, every school might be Title I.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
yes,
We are not.
yes.
Right.
Does redistricting affect that at all?
It
School
could
district.
affect the school being Title I. For example, when we moved like 75 to 100 students from Wellington and both Gatlin Points over to Hardy, that has significantly reduced their free and reduced lunch. So they are borderline for Title I status because of that. So yes, it does. Okay, math interventionists. So this would be a position at Smithfield Middle School. And we get the money from the state for this position. We've used it in the past for things like online tutoring, materials and supplies. Our teachers have tutored. What we would like to do now, so it is a new position, but the money is there, and it's to create this math interventionist position. IA welding, so you know we have our welding program. The teacher has requested, we agree, because of the nature of the job and what the students are doing and the equipment that they are using, that an extra set of eyes and hands would be very beneficial in that classroom. So that is the request there.
Is that increase there also related to the desire to prepare students to be able to go out of high school and go to work in the industry? Is that part of that
Absolutely.
process?
Absolutely. We have students that leave our welding program and go earn a very high living wage,
Right.
job, and yes.
With Newport News right across the road and all the
Absolutely.
shipbuilding going on, the
Yep.
demand is going way up on that.
Yes.
Specific.
Oh, and that's part of our IMTA, the Isle Maritimes Trade Academy, that we are partnering with Newport News Shipbuilding.
Okay.
And that will, in the future, we'll be looking at increasing our welding program and the space.
And I think it's, we just had our reverse CTE job fair where we had employers actually come into our CTE spaces to interview and work with our students. And you spoke about the one, the business that came out, but I think we had 9 that visited our welding. It's one of our highest partnerships between the school and employers that come out and directly hire our students into those positions. It's a great example.
I think the opportunities are going to continue to increase. There's literally hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into our shipyards and so on now and into the near future as they retrofit a whole bunch of things. And there may be greater opportunities I want to encourage you to look into where they will also help sponsor some programs and provide additional grant money for students, preparing them for their workforce. And the need is definitely increasing.
Absolutely.
Is this additional set of eyes expanding capacity of number of students? Like
No, it's not going to. No.
But if the instructor isn't there, they can't do anything in that class at all. So it does give an extra person that is available for that course.
Yeah, based on the standards for CTE and OSHA, they can only have, it's based on the space allocation. So if we were able to expand the space, we could expand the enrollment. But like Ms. Perkins mentioned, that's a great observation. Without a certified welder, they can't weld. So instead of using that in-person time, they end up doing book work. So it would be really helpful for that.
So the next one is our self-contained special education teachers for elementary schools. And I did pull the numbers a little bit. So currently, we have 23 students in our preschool program that will be transitioning to kindergarten next year. Of those 23, 17 of them are going to require a smaller environment, a self-contained environment. They are not ready to be in a general education classroom. So that is why the request is for 3 additional teachers. We have really seen an increase in our special education preschool population. And it just happens that these students, we have a large number who are not going to be ready to go in the general education classroom. If we put them in the general education classroom, that's where you often see the behavior issues because they're not prepared to be in there for a full day. Academically, they may not be ready to attend to what is going on in the general kindergarten classroom. So these students might spend some time in the general education classroom, but not all of their time. So we need these additional teachers. Currently, we don't have any space for them, room to put in our current classrooms.
This gets, correct me if I'm wrong, but since 2016, your sped population has increased 22, 23%? Is that right?
Yes, and it really looks at disability, like our developmentally delayed has really increased, our autism has really increased. So when you look at our disability, we've seen increases based on that. Preschool is one of those areas we're seeing a lot. Questions? Okay. The next one's CTE director. So we just talked about Isle Maritime's Trade Academy. That is beginning next year. We are responsible for helping this be successful and for implementing. And I think what we have seen through all of those meetings and the implementation that we are going to have to be doing and the oversight, we need somebody who's really going to be dedicated and has a full-time job that they are working on CTE. Not only that, but just maintaining the level in our current programs, increasing certifications, even looking at expanding CTE opportunities. I think we can all agree that it is very important. We just talked about it. And so having someone who can work on grants for CTE programs, looking at expanding, maintaining our current programs, and then increasing and adding additional ones. Right now we're kind of piecemealing it. Different people do different parts of CTE, and it's not really effective, to be perfectly honest with you. We need somebody who can really concentrate on that and that be their full-time focus.
If I can add to that, Mr. Rosie, you mentioned the incredible work that's being done at the Newport News shipyard and how that's expanding. So as a part of the Isle Maritime Trades Academy, Newport News is actually on the board with school officials, with Camp Community College. And when this program is at full capacity, I think it's going to have up to 80 students
Correct.
a year. This person is going to be working with Camp Community College, with the Newport News shipyard, in addition, as Ms. Getz stated, with our traditional programs that are already in place. So this will be implemented next year, August, September. So this person is going to have a much more extensive responsibility than we already have. And it's been a struggle to maintain what we currently have. It's going to expand exponentially. So this position is critically important. You remember we received the $2.7 million lab school, which is a 5-year commitment through Governor Youngkin's initiative. So again, this person will have the traditional programs we currently have with the huge expansion of the Isle Maritime Trades Academy Lab School Initiative.
And along with that, it extends all the way out to Yorktown and the other shipyards as well, but they're also working on, having been involved with Harumfa, the expansion over there of additional educational facilities and childcare and a number of other things across the water as well. So.
Absolutely.
Clinic assistants, I'll let you take that.
Sure. So this is an addition of 2 clinic assistants. We currently have these positions already in some of our schools. However, some of these employees are split, where, for example, 1 clinic assistant is currently serving at Carsville Elementary School, Georgie Tyler Middle School, and Windsor High School. So that employee is split between 3 different schools and supporting the nursing staff. So we do have an RN in those clinics, but then this person also assists them, they're trained to be able to provide basic medical support, but also assist with making parent phone calls, giving them updates on sick students, and then also assisting with paperwork in the clinic as well. Sure. The next one is a registered behavior technician. This position is, it supports both special education but also our non-special education students who need support in behavior. And it supports our teachers as well in assisting our teachers with looking at functions of behavior in students, looking for interventions that are supporting of student behavior, and then supporting students on de-escalation strategies. So something that we have seen a huge rise in since our time in the virtual world and coming back into school has been an increase in the ability for students to self-regulate and to be able to function in an academic setting due to the emotional or behavioral problems that or concerns that they might have that go unaddressed. And so the RBT positions are there to support both the students directly and then teachers in training them in addressing behavior so that they can really focus on the instructional part of their job and support those students and all of the other students in their classrooms.
And it is a position that it is coursework and it's a certification that they must pass.
Yes, and this person, we have 2 already in our school division. This would be adding a 3rd. These 3 people service all 9 of our schools. So you can imagine that they are spread very thin. They're supervised by a behavior coach, a behavior specialist who is also trained in behavioral techniques, and so she oversees that program that falls within our special education program. But again, this is also to assist students who are not yet eligible for special education in order to ensure that they can get early interventions and perhaps, support them in a way that gets them back into a general education classroom or to keep them there.
And I think this just speaks to the reality of where we are right now with education. There are a lot of behaviors that teachers are dealing with, so we're trying to support that the best we can.
Who does this work now? The SSOs and officers?
Not-
No, so.
Teachers.
Yeah, teachers, and then, of course, like I said, we have the 2 already in place. The caseload is so high that they cannot meet the needs of the students and the teachers.
Tab down.
Okay. So these are our last few positions. We're requesting, again, 2 SSOs to support the already existing job class that's already there. We currently have 1 SSO at Windsor High School, 2 SSOs, school security officers at Smithfield High School. While those have been extremely appreciated and have really helped the climate and the culture of our school, with the implementation of the weapons detection machines, we have seen a need for an increase in that staffing as well. For example, especially at Windsor High School, we have 1, it makes it pretty clear there, we have 1 SSO. So during morning arrival time, we have approximately 9 staff members and then the SSO as well running the arrival time of students. As all the students enter the building, they're going through the weapons detection, and it takes about 9 staff members in order to facilitate that process. However, all of those other individuals go to their classrooms when the bell rings to teach because that's what or do their other front office job. And so we have 1 SSO who is then left to maintain or supervise the security of the building. And so with that, there is no one there to continue running that weapons detection machine for anybody else coming into the building. So late arrival students, visitors, anyone who's coming into the building during that time. So essentially, the weapons detection system is very effective for anyone who is coming in from the start of school until the arrival time is initially over. And then after that, we would need someone to man that system so that then the SSO could also the additional SSO would be able to maintain safety on the campus, such as doing door checks to make sure that they're secure, assisting with bathroom checks to make sure that students are, behaving, and, maintaining that order within the building as well.
So I know that was brought up earlier about us funding SSOs. Since being on the board, I remember us funding SROs. In fact, when we had the discussion about SROs, it was brought up, I may have even been the one to bring it up, that SSOs was an option, and it was not something that wanted to be considered, so we funded SROs. And so I guess the question I have is, I don't remember, first of all, that this, obviously it's funded because y'all paid for it, but I don't remember the board saying we were supportive of SSOs, or for that matter, not supportive. So I guess the question is, when you talk about there's 1 SSO here, and where are the SROs? So they've been pulled out of schools?
No, so we have an SRO at every single campus. And so that individual is for law enforcement, and then this individual is, it's a school security officer that's not law enforcement. And so they really work in tandem with each other. There are specifics of their responsibilities that one is, again, they're law enforcement.
I'm familiar because I brought it up
Yes, yes.
when y'all wanted SROs, and I was
Yeah.
told SSOs won't do, we need SROs. So I guess my question is, when we're running these weapon systems, SROs cannot
No.
do
They
that.
cannot.
Why is that?
Because when they are engaging in a part of the process of searching students, and they have a certain threshold that they need to meet in order to engage in that process as a law enforcement officer, that as a school official, we have the ability to, so there's probable cause and probable suspicion, and because of those different levels, it makes the law enforcement's hands tied in a different way, that we might be able to initiate that process differently to ensure student safety. If we reach probable cause based on our initial assessment of the student, then law enforcement can step in, which is why it's such an important partnership, because if there is a serious concern, we want that law enforcement to be there, present, and ready to respond, but we can initiate that more so than a law enforcement person is.
They're a
in a
little
school
more
building.
objective, where y'all can be more subjective.
Correct.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think we had that conversation that you mentioned before Dr. Kramer got here. And I think Mr. Cunningham and I were the only ones on the board at the time. And last year, we talked a little bit more about the SSOs. And I think you had the exact same question last year.
Yeah, I mean, well, this time we brought up that we had funded it, and y'all, I mean, we funded some teacher assistants and that, I say funded. The board recommended or asked for, whatever, our board. And then, and I think that wasn't last year, it was the year before. And then the SSOs appeared along with, I think, some supervisory staff for the SSOs too.
And I think that was last year when you funded us and, just gave us the bulk.
It
and
could have
said,
been, or could have been the year before.
You guys go ahead and do what you feel you need to do.
Right, I think it was the year before, but that's okay.
It was the year before, so the
Okay.
first year I arrived, that's right. And thank you for that delineation, Mr. Collick.
But we did have the conversation and.
The reason, one of the reasons I bring it up as a board member
Yeah.
is that the county's board of supervisors have funded SROs more than once,
Yes.
as we remember. They were
Yes.
pulled out by a previous sheriff that felt like the need was somewhere else. And it could be done again. I mean, the sheriff, he only answers to the people that elect him. So that's why I asked the question, if the SROs were still there. And I guess at some point in time, you may have a sheriff in the future that thinks, you have SSOs, so why have SROs?
Yeah,
So,
they're both, as Ms. Sullivan said, unique.
I'm very familiar with them.
So-
I'm just saying.
And they're vital.
I was also familiar with the fact that I questioned whether they should have been pulled out to begin with.
Sure.
but-
I will
And then
say-
we had to refund them.
Our SROs are vital, particularly in our secondary schools. I cannot imagine having a middle or high school without an SRO in there. The SSOs, really with weapons detection, they are a necessity. Otherwise, our teachers you can't run them throughout the day because we don't have enough staff to run them. So if you have them, which we do, don't we want to implement them effectively? I would say yes. And so we definitely need the personnel to be able to do that. So that's why we're asking for these additional ones.
Just for a real-life observation, I popped in on Windsor High School one morning. I just had some spare time, and I rolled in there.
They let you in?
Yeah. So the bell rang, and as I walked into school, it was a little chaotic, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and eventually the principal came out, and she apologized, and I was like, "What? You don't need to apologize, what's going on?" Short story is, a kid had went to the back end of the high school and was vaping, and everybody was down there focused on dealing with this kid that was vaping, and there was nobody up front to deal with the metal detector, and so it
I
was-
think you bring up a good point, because somebody I know that goes to one of the high schools said that sometimes the late buses come in and they go right through, they don't go
That is
through the
correct.
detection system.
You're
Yes.
correct.
They get
So that goes to
spread
your
pretty
point.
thin.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Or any visitor that comes in.
Right. And even looking at that, we were trying to look at, could we possibly just, he has radio, we call him up each time there's someone coming in. On one Friday, just at Windsor High School, for a very short period of time, there was over 150 visitors. And so when you think about, even in a smaller building, that one person having to run from whatever place they are, that person's waiting at the door to get their bag checked, whatever it might be, it just is not feasible for one person to do that.
And to your point, Mr. Acre, again, Mrs. Getz and I met with our student advisory today. It was brought up by the students that have this, but throughout the day, it's difficult to have that banned.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Well, the kids see it, because like I said, I hear it.
Sure.
And it doesn't make sense, they have to wait in line to go through it in the morning.
Exactly.
But if you come in on a late bus, you walk right in.
That's right.
And we've also had students really express how safe it makes them feel and how, like, but then they question, but what about the rest of the day?
Yeah.
But, so they get that security in the morning,
Yeah.
but they
They're
also
questioning
recognize
us.
it. Yeah, exactly. Which we appreciate. Okay, and so the last one, I'll be, this is my department, so it's a little awkward. But we, like Dr. Kramer pointed out at the beginning, recommendation is 1 to 100 employees. We have over 800 employees at this point. We added our food service department back in this past year. And so each year, whenever we get new positions, HR has remained the same for, I don't even know how long. For example, county kind of comparison, a little over 300 employees, I think, and around 4 HR employees at the county level. And so we have 3.5 for over 830 employees. And so with that said, we really want to be able to support our employees with all of the needs and the requests that they have. And also, as with every corporation or industry, but especially in education, we are in a teacher shortage. And so the recruiting and retention and supporting those employees and becoming licensed and helping them with grants in order to get them to a place where they are able to get their degrees has increased tenfold in the last decade. So on top of just the hiring, terminating, helping with resignations, FMLA requests, the getting people licensed and supporting them in the classroom is really something that we need some assistance with. So we appreciate the consideration.
Can you tell us the current vacancy rate and turnover rate?
Yeah. So turnover rate, I'd have to get that to you. Again, we have around 830 employees right now. We hire about 86 new hires every given year. And then as far as our vacancy rate, for total, I would have to go back and look at that. I haven't looked at that recently just because we're getting ready to hire we're getting ready through our hiring season. But we started the year with 7 classrooms that we needed to fill. Now we made adjustments, and that is not meaning that we only had 7 vacancies. That's with us being able to double down on some people covering during their planning blocks. We were at about 7 teacher classrooms that we really needed to fill with the teaching spot.
So you collapsed those classrooms at the beginning of the year or fill them with subs or what?
Yeah, so.
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. The majority of ours, however, we try to make sure that we can have a certified teacher in that classroom. So especially at the secondary level, we'll do whatever we can to help with having teachers teach during their planning block while we pay them additional funds because it is important to us that we have a certified teacher with those students versus a sub if that's possible.
And how many non-certified teacher positions do you have?
So we have people who are non-certified that are teaching. I can get you that number, but I want to say we're probably close to, and this includes people who are provisionally licensed, so I would say probably close to 50 positions that are, not on a renewable license, but of course they're, given that provisional 3 years in order to.
And they have to be constantly followed up on to make sure they are working to get that certification. Because obviously we want them to be certified.
So it's 50 out of, sorry, I'm just curious.
Like 440 some.
How many instructional teacher positions do you have? Of the,
So around 400 and, I think it's 444 last
of
time.
the 830, 450 or teachers? So roughly 10% are non-certified or provisional.
Of those 400.
Right.
Math. Okay.
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah, a little bit more, but yes.
WAG,
I was an
right?
English
Yeah.
teacher, yes.
All right, do we have any other questions on that
Can you back
section?
up one slide, please? There's a difference between the number that was in the.
Yes, it is. So actually at the bottom of the chart, and I think that goes to the fact that we did have some other positions that we deleted before we brought it to you. And so there is actually a total of 11, not 12. So the quantity is accurate. The total should be 11. Yep.
Yeah.
Out
We'll help
of
with our math.
all of the positions that were presented, how many of those are SOQ positions?
So that's a great question.
Cannot answer that.
So I guess SOQs are there are SOQs or standards of qualities for position types, and all of these except for the and even in that I was going to say the welding IA and the clinic assistants, but even for those, state says that you are required to have a certain amount of support staff in order to essentially run your school system. And they do not specifically quantify that, like, a welding IA might be one of them, but they give you a number that says, based on the ADM of your school division, you might require up to at least this many support positions, but they're not going to tell us exactly what those are or what they have to be.
Are all of those positions currently filled? Is there any additional vacancies in those positions? To be classified as SOQ?
Like, or do we have, I'm trying to
guess
think
because
if,
it's such a small number, you're at your SOQ
I
limit.
don't think
Yeah,
we
you
correlate SOQ to a specific position, to a specific name. I
No.
think that's what you're
Yeah,
asking.
That
well,
does
I guess
not
the message is,
exist.
if X number are authorized, are we already at X or?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
and I guess it's important to also clarify that it's not authorized, it's required.
Yeah.
Fine.
So, yeah, so it says, like, you must have 15 first grade teachers at minimum, but that also doesn't mean that is what you actually should be at, because that might result in you having 30 first graders in a classroom.
I understand.
So they don't fund us to what we need based on our population. Let me give you another example. I think it's, you have to have 9 CTE teachers. It's required. We must have them. We have like 20 CTE teachers. So if you can imagine, if we only had 9 CTE in our whole division, we'd be getting rid of a lot of programs. But that's all we're funded for.
Right. Yeah, I'm not suggesting one or the other, I just want to make sure
Yes.
that
Yeah.
it relates to
Oh.
tax purposes.
No.
How they would fit in.
Yeah.
Ms. Sullivan put together a spreadsheet last year, year before last, and I think it paints a good picture of that SOQ problem, so to speak.
Yes.
I'll dig that up and send it to you, just know that it's
Yeah.
dated.
It's in the budget book. I think you might be looking at it. Is that right? Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one more question, sorry. Of the increase that the county gave last year, right, for the budget, 2025, a little less than 3 million, I think, increase over 2024. When you wanted to add new positions, I can't remember what that number was last year, 9 or so, and you said, if we're not funded for, I'm generalizing, we're not funded for X, Y, Z. I remember one of them specifically was to fulfill a grant position for a CNA program or something.
Yes.
Remember that one?
Patient
The
care.
patient care.
Yep.
Patient care technician.
Right, that's right. So, since we only gave you this, and you had asked for this, were you able to add all the positions that you wanted to last year somehow?
No.
No.
Did you fund the PCT program?
It's a part-time position
Yes, it's
right now.
part-time. Mhm.
So we didn't lose the money, the grant money?
Oh, no. No, we did not.
No.
Yeah. We had to, yeah. And I'm trying to, I have to go back to look at my notes to see specifically if that was, or if you might remember, if that's not one that was funded, what we would have had to have done is gone in and looked at vacancies to say, like, we're not going to fill this, we're
Yeah.
going to have
So I'm
to.
gonna call it, I could be wrong, I'm gonna call it 9 new positions last year.
Mhm.
Of the 9 that you asked for, because we only gave you this,
Mhm.
do you know how many you actually added?
It was more than we asked for, and we ended up funding 10, I think.
Okay.
And one was the patient care technician.
Mhm.
So you asked for more, and you added actually 10.
Right.
And this year it's 15?
14.
14.
Mhm.
Our math a little off.
Yeah.
I have one question. The math interventions, did you say that was state funded or?
Yeah, so, and Ms. DeVere, if she needs to add, we get money for algebra readiness, and it has to be used for middle school math. That's the only thing it can be used for. In the past, we've used it for things like, we've funded a virtual program, we've had teachers tutor, we've hired tutors. Instead of using the money for that, we're asking the money to be used for an interventionist position. So Ms. DeVere might be able to speak more on that.
It's just new to the operating budget.
It's new to the operating.
But, so the funding source is state funds though, it's not local funds?
Correct.
Mhm.
Combined,
Okay.
combined.
So I guess it's not all from the state, it's partially from the state and then the other.
Okay.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Members, do you have a specific category that you would like to jump into or go back to going down the sheets?
So, I think just an overall review of, I'm interested in an overall review of pay structure, state funded increase, cost of living, if you will, the picture on the $1,000 bonus, the STEP program that you may or may not be able to fund, and then a little bit about your health insurance increase.
I'm going to ask Mr. Very to come and address some of those specific questions as it regards state funding. I would say we still do not know, obviously. We still do not have the calc tool, as it's referred to, in coming up, Mr. Very. So until we get specifics from the state, we cannot respond to that completely. And again, I'll ask Mrs. DeVere to speak more specifically
Yes,
to those questions.
We don't have the specifics yet as to what the governor actually adopted. So until we get those, it's a guess.
But what you're hearing is 3% cost of living?
Oh, that's what he has approved in the budget, yes. A
And if we-
3% for SOQ funded positions, but we, of course, we can't just do those positions because we don't identify who's who.
And if I can say, Mr. Very, please correct me if I'm incorrect, we're in the second year of the biennial, so we do know what some of the funding is going to be, but some of the additional dollars, we do not know and can't speak to that.
Not yet to the specifics.
And the position that we're in this year, do we have to give money back because we budgeted for a certain ADM and maybe it's not the same number that we budgeted?
We don't give it back, we just don't get it.
Don't give it. They give it at the end. It's retroactive.
Yeah, well, they would adjust it going forward.
Process really is backwards.
Yeah.
You budget it out, and then you find out how much you're gonna get.
Should be like paying rent. You gotta pay 2 months ahead before you can move in.
Yeah. It's difficult to wrap your head around that.
And then the health insurance increase, Mr. Bear?
Claims are up. I don't know what else to say. I also believe that, we're self-insured, and the health insurance fund has not been adequately funded in the last couple years. So we met with our consultant today. We still don't have the final rates. But right now, our actual rates that I'm showing in the budget, the rates themselves are about a 14% increase. But when you look at it from the whole fund, it's actually showing like a 23% increase from budget to budget. And that's because it wasn't properly funded.
What percentage of the premium does the school cover for each employee?
Slide that down in this.
It varies. We have 4 plans, I think. Is it 4 plans? So there are 4 different plans there.
So at the 500, the middle of the road?
We have 2 health savings.
2 low deductible
Yeah.
and 2 high deductible plans.
Right.
One is like a Virginia network, and the other is like a nationwide network, depending on where employees need to seek care. And then, of course, the premium rates change based on whether it's just the employee spouse, employee children.
But at the employee only, on basically the lowest plan, we're at, I think it's 95% is what the employer, what we cover for that.
Are you under the same requirement as the county to pay at least 80%?
No, that's per the local choice plan. We're self-insured.
The self-insured, like the reserves, is the part that has not been appropriately funded over the last few years. And so with being self-insured, we have to be prepared to pay out claims that supersede the deductibles that we have.
What was the difference, for example, last year? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
Of how much you had to additionally pay out?
Out of the reserve. Our internal CFOs could tell you that.
I'm thinking it was in the neighborhood of $500,000 last year.
But it's the company that we work with that advises us, and then also various experience, we really should be looking at
Around
being about
$2 million.
In order to support a plan of our size and with the level of claims that we have based on the health of our employees.
And we currently have 1.3, but we still have 3 more months of the year. Is that right? April, May, June. And claims, they have not gone down yet. They keep trending up, so we very well may dip into some of that fund balance this year.
Does the reserve stay just for that as you move into the next year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And we typically see like a spike during our summer months, a spike during December, and then kind of like valleys in the rest because our
Yeah.
employees tend to get more care during the times when they're off. However, that has not proven true this year.
Mhm.
We continue to see an increase each month.
It's over a 40% increase in claims.
Do you know what percentage of that would be accidents and things like that versus just healthcare issues?
It's pretty much just healthcare.
Okay,
We don't have a high accident.
right.
And I think like with everyone else, we're seeing a spike in the pharmacy claims because of all those Ozempics and Wegovy's, and they're really expensive.
Have we ever priced out adding the schools to local choice?
No, we talked to our consultant about it. We wouldn't recommend like joining the county plan or anything, because we're a larger and different kind of different group. But we could join the local choice, but then we'd have to be prepared to pay all of the, I think it's called run-out claims. So everything that had incurred while we were self-insured, we would need to have that money set aside to pay, and it could be upwards of $4 million.
So in order for us to be prepared to ever be able to do that, we have several years of building that reserve so that we then have the
Yeah.
option to go into the local choice. But right now, that's not, it hasn't been a goal in the past, so it's gonna take quite some time to do that.
But the local choice plan is a much better plan for employees. You know, I think they call it richer, what they call it.
Premiums are certainly cheaper,
Mhm.
even at an 80%, or
Yeah.
I think we provide 81%,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Funding for the premium.
we actually got their claims, and we did a comparison, and the plans are very similar. Our premium's actually a little higher
Oh, really?
in a lot of areas. We didn't know that until.
But
we
our
just got the-
deductibles are higher.
What's that?
I think our deductibles are higher
Uh-huh.
and out-of-pocket max.
Yeah, but I mean, the actual amount that the county pays and employees pay, so, but it varies because your plans don't match exactly with our plans, and you have a different mixture of what the school system pays versus what the employee pays in some of the plan. I think you pay a higher percentage of the employee only and smaller percentage of family than we do.
Yes.
Yeah, we shared our plans back and forth, so we could
Uh-huh.
both see them.
Yes.
And in general, our coverage is just not as strong,
Right.
despite having higher premiums.
Probably should make it a goal to move into a better insurance plan.
Our employees would really appreciate that. Yes, and so that's a huge part of this funding now is to help us move towards that goal eventually, and building the reserve.
Anything else under the general fund? But toward the bottom of this, where it says changes in pay. Some of that is a part of our new positions in this as well, or no? Totally broken out from that.
Yeah, totally different.
Want to make sure. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll start, and then I'll ask Supervisor Stefano to add in his couple of cents as well, but I think you guys know that I had some experience with munis and, budgeting at the town level as well, right? So I appreciate all the budget information. I wanted to kind of look at line item history by org and by, description of the type of expenditure, et cetera. And so Mr. Berry was kind enough to send that to me earlier this week. I've learned since Monday that Supervisor DeStefano is somewhat of an Excel wizard, so I appreciate that. He did some analysis. And my question, just looking at, different line items, I'm going to bring up a few things that I just want to have general discussion about, not, pointing fingers or saying that one thing is right or wrong. That's why we're here tonight, is just to discuss big rocks in the river. I think I said that to you the other night. And I wanted to talk about technology. I think you've had your technology director come this evening. So when you look at total cost of technology, what I'm what I'm wondering, if you have a, you know, a limited amount of money to spend, I wanted to kind of hear about prioritization of technological, you know, advances, additions, outfitting of classrooms, et cetera. So technology is one area. Substitute costs.
Before
is
you
an
move
area.
on, can I speak?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the one person from our team that's not here is our technology
Oh, okay.
director.
Okay.
So if you have any specific questions, perhaps we might be able to respond to some of the general questions, but if they are very specific, I assure you, we will get that information to you.
I think you had a slide that outlined some of the technology increases or costs. Maybe we could start there.
I think one of them we could talk to fairly easily is the Promethean boards.
Yeah.
That's an easy one to talk to that I think everybody's pretty familiar with on this side of it.
Are you okay with us having that discussion, Ms. Getz? Would you assist with speaking to that technology?
Can we bring up the slide that says technology? So just remember it for your
Let's see
presentation.
where it goes. Is it here, the
Yeah.
technology equipment?
Yep,
Okay.
that's it. And just incidentally, the line items that are highlighted, does that have a meaning?
That has meaning to me because those are a few that I referenced in my very broad overview.
Okay.
So, yes.
So, technology equipment, I guess we were on the Promethean board topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that represented 275,500 in general to outfit all the classrooms, or?
I don't think that was that part. Mr. Berry might have to tell us.
And what is a Promethean board?
Initially, the superintendent's proposal was to finish outfitting remaining schools with Promethean boards. So Promethean boards are what you and I went to school with, projection boards, but now they're smart.
I had a chalkboard
Dropped
on
it
that.
down to
I'm with you.
100,000.
So now they've got these digital display boards and they sync to their devices, and so the teacher can put stuff on. It's interactive with the students. All the students have devices of one form or the other. And originally the ask, correct me if I'm wrong, was 600,000 there and about. It was $600,000, and that was what it was going to cost to continue outfitting every school with these Promethean boards. And the school board took a look at that and with discussions and worked with the staff here, and we decided to put what you see on our prioritized list was $150,000 line item in the budget to implement some new ones and then maintain a line item in the budget to upgrade and repair the ones as they lose their life cycle. So that's what you see on your list. That's not everything, but that's a part of it, the Promethean board.
It's that, and it's also iPad replacements for kindergarten, first and second grade. They use iPads, they have hit their life cycle, so we have to replace them. And so part of that cost is to replace the iPads.
Mrs. Roundtree, one of the comments that you made to me the other night was, can technology be capital? I think that's a worthy discussion. I don't know that it's ever been done that way in the past.
No.
Not since I've been here, at least.
Yeah, so, you know, that general kind of line of thought is, Joel's nodding his head because we both come from healthcare.
I've done it as a program, that it's a
So,
capital program.
you know, when you're running a hospital, which is kind of a mini city, if you will, you know, has all the pieces and parts, similar to what we do in the county. Things that are capitalized and put in a capital budget are things or groups of things over a certain dollar threshold. Let's call it $50,000. I don't know. The fact of the matter is, each organization sets their own limit, and then you eat your own dog food, right? So let's just call it $50,000. You know, for a capital expenditure. I recall the discussion we had last year about school buses, where we all kind of got cross-eyed when we started talking about, well, let's do 5 buses in the capital budget, and let's do 5 buses in the operating budget. Well, the definition of a capital expenditure is one that can be amortized and appreciated over years of the useful life of the equipment. And it's an accounting tool, which is why I think Mr. Berry is coming to the stand. But, basically I'm wondering if technology, if $150,000 with Promethean boards is, promulgated and appropriated and funded, can those in fact be capital items and paid for into a capital budget, not under an operating budget? And then look, it's a bit of a shell game with cash and everything else. But it's a question I have.
Historically, just from what I know, the schools have not had a separate capital budget. But don't be mistaken, we do take those assets at the end of each year and we do capitalize them into a capital asset. So it does show on our financial statements that we have these capitalized assets. So we follow that same process. It's just we don't have a separate capital budget per se.
Well, I guess in this case, if we're going to just focus on these particular items, it allows for planning. So you know what the longevity should be, and you may calculate a few in there that break or just don't last as long for whatever reasons. But you say based on the manufacturer's recommendation, these things are good for maybe 10 years. So in the plan, we need to make sure 10 years out that we're getting ready to pay for them. And if the next boards come up in 10 years, you're like, we can probably squeeze another year because we've got another priority, then so be it, but it remains at the top of the priority list. I mean, and obviously you're putting them in all the schools is what the intent is, and they obviously are part of the basic technology now in schools classes. It should be part of a capital program and kind of programmed in, so otherwise, unless, technology changes.
And that was I believe and I can't speak for our school board, but I believe that was the plan, was to get this, just like the $165,000 for iPad replacement, is to get this amount put in the IT's technology budget so that it's there every year to be replacing. So, the concept's basically the same. We also have the teacher laptops. We actually finance those. I don't know how many there are exactly, if you do, but that's a routine.
400 and some?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, that's a routine item in our budget as well. So what we pointed out here are just the changes, from last year to this year's budget.
I guess, and I'm hoping I'm on the same wavelength as you with this. Again, kind of setting this whole system up for when we're no longer there, is that if you have the plan out there, of course, it's very transparent on where it's going, that kind of stuff. You don't end up with, and I use this, I don't know if it's the right way to kind of represent it. It's like if you give your kids some money so they can buy a house, and you show up and they bought all the furniture with the money. I mean, you really want them to put into the capital, the investment being the home, not the dishes and the couches that are going to wear out. So the intent there is, as a lot of money, put it aside as a capital program and execute it as such, so that you can actually have that transparency and you've got the plan. And I think that would be one way to kind of start shaving up these type of programs.
I guess it also allows us to put things in a capital plan that then we can seek funding for, again, through bonds or reserves or whatever else, instead of having it directly hit the balance sheet as cash.
I don't know, you'd want to borrow for small.
I'm just making this up as
But
to
it may
the
qualify
entire
for a bond under certain, depending on the bond, depending on the program.
Well, the
There may be
asset
several
life.
programs that qualify under the bond issuance. And that's a whole lot cheaper than, say, swiping a credit card. I know that's what we do.
But I can speak confidently that our director of IT does have his capital plan and replacement plan in place. It's just within his operating budget.
Yes.
Because we don't have a separate capital.
So maybe that's just, picking at nits, right, for this year, but.
It's a good conversation to be had.
It is a good conversation I would ask you all to have, just philosophically.
Just kind of weigh it out. There's got to be pros and cons. You've mentioned some already.
I mean, schools at first, my experience with schools has just been being on this board for the most part, particularly with the finance part. I never knew that government did it this way, put capital things in an operating budget. All my years of being in government, we had capital, and we did do programs. Some items might have been only $4,000 a pop, but there were 100 of them. And it was a program, and you qualified under a certain type of program, and we knew it was coming up, so that the board knew coming up, we got about a $750,000 projects coming up for X, Y, Z. So anyway, it seems to me it's just a better planned out way to do it. And if we're doing that across the board, it helps us helps this board and future boards as far as funding and knowing what they're responsible for. We have a vision and we create an idea, people change and people leave, it gets lost because nobody can see the vision. I think that plan allows for the vision. So.
IT has one. I know that for a fact.
Well, I guess when we're looking at capital budget, having it in our capital budget would be wise.
Yeah, totally agree.
Thank you, Renee.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other questions on technology or not, but, and maybe we can circle back to it, but, you know, again, with just looking line item, it allowed me to dig into some of the detail of, and here's kind of my next stream of thinking is like actual expenditures for 2025 through February, right? So, again, Supervisor Stefano did a lot more math than I did, but very simply, if you take what you spent, divided by 8, right? And then you multiply the per month amount by 12, you can get an annualized number, right? And so when I look at 2025 spend today, recognizing that, and the reason I do this is because I'm thinking, all right, it's already February, so relatively until the end of the school year, you got 3 more months, right? So in a budget category, if you've only spent 42%, like that's the case, you spent 49.58% year to date on Smithfield Middle School substitute teacher stuff, right? You know, that's what the description of the line item says. So you spent under 50% of that budget, but yet the 2026 budget is asking for a 213% increase in that line item. So the difference between what you've actually spent and what you're asking for in 2026, when you look at some of these line items, doesn't compute. And to me, this is kind of the way that, I was trying to get to that earlier with new positions, but this is kind of the way that, you know, we give you what we can, and then you say, okay, we'll make it work, right? And a lot of times it's because I think you've economized in some line items and in some areas, but then when you budget, you kind of say, okay, we're going to ask in 2026 at least what we asked for in 2025, but then if you didn't spend it all, then you can go ahead and move that money around. Not that I want to go back to categorical funding. You all are elected to manage your budget and to educate our children, and I thank God for that every day, that that's not my job, that that's your job, not mine. I'm just selling computer software, but anyway, be that as it may, that line item pops up first for me when we, you know, kind of do a regression, and Supervisor Stefano can speak to that, but if we just talk about that in general and maybe specifically even on substitute teaching, before I leave that idea, I think substitute teaching, those fees, I understand you started the year with, you know, 7 classrooms that needed coverage, and you're covering them with breaks and subs and different things. I feel like substitute rates of having to have subs cover classes, I feel like that's a leadership and a management issue, right? Because, and I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. I'm saying if the budget for substitute teachers continues to go up, it's because your regular classroom teachers are calling out, or they're not there, or they're having a health issue, or whatever the case is. But you've spent under 50% of your budget for, you know, this line item, Smithfield Middle School classroom, you know, 530201, substitute services. You spent under 50%, you're asking for an increase of 213% over this year's budget. So tell me why that is.
Can I comment on that for a moment, please? Let me kind of explain the way I looked at it and talk specifically about substitute teachers. So I think as most know, there's like 2,000 lines of budget within Munis as we received it, and it was 8/12 of the month, right? So it gives you the ability to look at 2023 actual, 2024 actual, 2025 budget, and then where we are currently, and be able to run a forecast that says, okay, this is likely where it will be if the doing it when you're just math on it. And then from that, taking it and being able to like-kind events, because 2,000 lines of budget is pretty hard to look at. So regarding substitute teachers, lumping those all together and then doing the same type of math on that. And so while the individual item would show that, you know, 50% of the budget is used, when combined, overall substitute teachers long-term is projected to be 1,612% over budget when grouped together. But the follow-on budget has a 0% increase requested there. And so, and I guess what I'm trying to make is that there was a number of examples where I had where already over budget or projected to be significantly over budget, but it wasn't reflective in the follow-on year's budget request. And that's both being, and there's also the example of being significantly below budget, but also not reflected in the subsequent request. When the bottom line is added up, what my math shows is that the school will most likely be spent 88.5% of their budget at the end of this season, which means that there'll be some money left over. And so I'd kind of like to get into the specifics, but also talk in the trend if we could too.
Sure. So with regard to the substitutes, the way historically the substitute budgets have been managed is we make sure we pay them under the right school and line item, but we may not have that bucket of money in that right line item because, so Smithfield Middle School may have more subs one year, whereas Windsor Elementary may have more next year. It just varies like that. So we make sure that we post the expense in the correct line item, but the budgeting has not always lined up over the years with it. Something else you might have noticed, well, fiscal year 23 and specifically fiscal year 24. 24, we had to curb all of our spending because there was a deficit we were trying to cover from fiscal year 23. And the revenue, once again with the state, had been over budgeted. So that was another projected shortfall. So when you look at how much we spent in 24 and try to compare it to 25 and what we're asking in 26, it's not a very clear picture because the circumstances were entirely different. Something else you might notice when you're looking at all of those is there are different lines for the VRS benefits. And you might have noticed that the ones that say VRS Plan 1 and 2, and then there's another one that says VRS Hybrid. Well, there was nothing budgeted under those lines for VRS Hybrid because the gentleman doing the budget last year didn't break it out into those two different lines. But overall, there's sufficient funds in there. So there have been a lot of things to fix when it comes to the accounting work at the schools, and we're kind of chipping away at it, as much as we can. Some of the other thing that when you did with your linear modeling is that all of our teachers, instructional positions and so forth, they're not paid over those 8 months because they don't really start getting paid until September as it pertains to this budget.
They get paid September to May or September to June?
Well, they'll get paid from, we hold back their money, and so that they get 12 paychecks, but it actually like crosses years. Because they don't start till September on a new contract, and then it doesn't get paid out until the end of August, which crosses fiscal years.
Yeah, that's not muddy, is it?
That's the way schools.
That's the way schools do it.
That's the way schools
Otherwise, you
do
get
it.
your last paycheck in June, you get no money in July and August,
Yeah.
and it's up to the individual to budget for that.
That's how all schools do that. It's called a holdback. And they treat it as a deduction from the teacher's paycheck. We hold it back, and then we have that to pay them in July and August.
And I think, I heard you say that in kind of putting it all together, you thought we would spend out about 88% of our sub-budget, even though it's.
Overall.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, and I could kind of speak in terms of the sub part of that. That sounds about right, to be honest with you, in terms of what we have budgeted and what we may use. And a lot of the unused budget from that is based on the fact that we can't fill jobs. So it's not that we don't need to fill the jobs, that teachers aren't absent. It's the fact that we can't fill them because we don't pay at a high enough rate. So the increase that you're seeing on the sub budget is not because we are trying to, that we have just unfilled jobs. It's that we need to increase our sub pay rate in order to get more substitutes to pick up the jobs for our teacher, which I think again speaks to the comment that you made about, the teachers being out, they're burnt out. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that one of their colleagues is out sick. They're then also covering the classes of those kids. So when my kindergarten teacher next door is out, we're all getting 6 extra kids because we don't have a substitute to cover that class. And so now that student who had, was sick last week is now sitting in my class, and now I'm sick because they got the other teacher sick. And so it is a domino effect. And so the increase that we've asked for sub funds this year is to increase the pay rate. Our base pay for our substitute is just at minimum wage. So you can make more money working at any fast food restaurant in Isle of Wight County schools than you can supervising, caring for, and instructing our kids as a substitute. And so that would, the increase that we're asking for would make us comparable. It would not touch Suffolk's pay rate, but it would make us comparable to Hampton, which is where we get the majority of our substitutes from. And so that's just to kind of make us at a place where we can get those subs so that our teachers can stop burning themselves out so that they can be present more. And then we're hoping we definitely will see a leftover funds that we can then give back or reallocate.
And there's 3 rates, right?
Except Hampton doesn't increase theirs.
If Hampton doesn't increase ours.
There's a base rate, like a 60-hour college rate, and a college degree rate.
So we have a high school, like you just graduated from high school. You have
4 rates?
It's one, and then it has full day and half day.
Yeah.
Associate's degree, college degree, licensed teacher degree, pay rate, sorry. And then of course we have a long-term pay rate. So if you're agreeing to like take on a long-term placement, we pay you more. But in that, I think I have to go back and look specifically, but it's about like you can be a long-term sub here in Isle of Wight and get paid $120 less a day than what you're getting paid in Suffolk. Less, not like $120 less a day to be a long-term sub here than in Suffolk City Schools. So we've had, this is the first year, but we've had multiple long-term placements that we have not been able to fill with even a substitute while a teacher is out on FMLA or maternity leave. And so we have put a lot of pressure on our staff to pick up that extra. And so this increase in pay for our substitutes will greatly, it helps get more subs, but it also helps the morale and support of our teachers.
Do you have any of those rates in your mind, even just one of them, like what it's going from and to?
It's $5? It's a $5 above what Hampton was going to be.
Yeah.
But I can send them to you so you could look at them. I would rather do that than try to guess.
Do you see this line here on the screen that says purchase services? And it says the increase is $444,000.
Yeah.
$215,000 of that is just to increase our sub rate that we pay. Now, the other thing you might have looked at, I have not uploaded any of this in Munis yet because with there being so many unknowns, I haven't allocated everything out. You might have noticed that the new positions that you see in the spreadsheet, I haven't even identified an org yet for them. So I was doing the entire budget in Excel. So if you, I don't know exactly, but maybe the substitute for the Smithfield line, I might have plugged the 215 increase in that line. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I'm
So-
most interested in discussing like the bottom line. Is this
Okay.
anticipating having a surplus at the end of this fiscal year?
We absolutely have to have a surplus.
Okay.
We don't want to go back to where we were.
Is the surplus in the magnitude as I'm projecting, or am I off?
I don't think it's that much, no. We may not be, fuel charges, our gas. I know we're at least a month behind on those because of billing issues. Not on our end, we're willing to pay them, but we haven't gotten them from the vendor, and then getting them reconciled. So it's like everything that you're looking through those expenses through the end of February as if we are 100%, up to date with all the vendor invoices, and we aren't. So I don't think it will be that high, but yes, we are projecting a surplus.
And I wonder, and you could speak to this, but I think that holdback piece is a large portion of it, that as well, in terms of, no, that wouldn't be it.
No, it
Okay.
shouldn't be.
Yeah.
What was your total,
Yes.
what ended up being your total difference?
The bottom line projection?
Yeah.
Based on what I reviewed and assuming that, linear is accurate to within some acceptable means, about 88.5% of the budget would be used. Again, I recognize that doesn't include things that are committed to but not yet funded, and there's probably some,
But you didn't
increase in there,
include the
but I got it.
encumbrances?
I just want to know what that is, so that what the actual surplus is. If we can get to that number, that'd be wonderful.
Oh, it's a moving target. Did you include the encumbrances? Because the encumbrances are purchase orders, so those are obligations that we have, that we've already made, that we're going to pay. They just may not have been received and paid just yet.
Give you a total now.
But I just didn't know if it was in your totals while I was asking, so.
While he does that, one of the line items that stood out to me, another one after substitute teaching, was vehicle, power, and equipment, fuel. So,
And that's the one I just said that
yeah.
we're
So
not,
you've spent 74%.
but I think we're only, I think we're just into January with those bills.
I think the ADM, right?
That's on our revenue side. They're just looking at the expenditures is all that they asked for.
So that, I did not include that.
Okay.
That would get, bring it
Yes.
closer. Still showing probably, and this is rough, not probably about half of what I was projecting previously, given the $4 million in encumbrances that are.
Yes, sir.
So, it would be, I'm glad to share this with you. Okay, thanks.
Rudolph? Or Joel?
It's a lot, huh? It's a lot to digest.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we look forward to going home and reading through this and digesting it more deeply. Other questions, board members? Anything that you would like more information on to be sent?
I think there's a couple things, we asked for tonight that would be helpful. Again, as we kind of wrestle this pig over the next month.
Sure, and
Not that anybody's a pig, but.
please let us know if you can convey that to Mr. Keaton. He and I will be in
You wanna
constant
review those
communication.
couple items, so just make sure it's,
Yeah.
I know
Well,
you
I
wanted
mean,
the
like-
business case for the,
Yeah, the business
that
case
was
for the
one I
bus
jotted down for
garage.
sure.
Business case for the garage.
And the technology plan.
I would like to do a technology.
Sure.
plan.
May I ask Mr. Keaton if you would capture all of those requests and get those to me? We'll certainly be more than pleased to respond.
is this being recorded? Is this being recorded?
Do you have any other comments?
No, I don't. I've included encumbrances. I'm still showing a pretty significant potential for surplus. And so any data you would have to show what the surplus is anticipated on your end would be beneficial as well.
And remember, whatever surpluses we have will go back to the county.
No further questions or discussion?
Good talk?
Anything else from you, Chairman?
No, sir.
Okay, I move that we close the meeting. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Agley?
Yes.
Mr. Stoneham?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Rosen?
Yes.
Any other comments from the school board? You just call it adjourned, yeah?
Thank you all very much.